The first incident for the trip, but it's a minor on the helmet.
Peak is loose.
It's not quite a Leatherman. Welcome back to Vander's View and a brand new series. Yeah, I say we because I'm joined by my twin brother, Emil, is joining me on this series. So this is a different series because all series up to now I've been doing it solo, doing it alone. But this is the very first trip where I'm doing it with my brother, with somebody else. And yeah, I think it's just going to be very enjoyable because it brings a whole new dimension to this. Emil and myself, we are twins. Yeah, we are not identical, but we are twins. He's the 20-minute older one.
I was just going to say.
He's older by 20 minutes. We have very different histories when it comes to motorcycle riding. Emil has been riding motorcycles all his life. I only started learning to ride motorcycle after I turned 50. So it's very different, but now we are meeting up and using our skills together to do a trip that we are looking forward to very, very much. You might guess from the surroundings where we are now already that we've started some time ago. We started this morning already in Cape Town. It is now closer to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so we came some distance. We're now close to Skitterykop. You will see Skitterykop there in the distance behind that ruin, which is the prominent landmark of this area. But yeah, where are we going with this series? So this series is a combination of riding old familiar roads, but also doing new ones. I'm going to take Emil to places that I featured before on Vander's View, but I'm also going to do roads that I've never done, and that is going deep into the Tankwakaroo. Thanks for joining us on this trip. We are planning to do this over 5 days, so this is only the first day, and I will of course tell you about all the destinations as we go through each of the days. So yeah, maybe you can catch up now with where we started this morning in Cape Town and then see how we made it up to this point so far. So until later, bye-bye. Yeah, it seems that the last few trips, when the series on Vander's View starts, it inevitably means going through the tunnel first. But as I mentioned in the previous series, going through the tunnel to me is like a transition from the city to adventure. And indeed, this series, which I'm calling the Brothers series, is also starting by going through the Huguenot tunnel. Now, of course, the Huguenot tunnel is the longest tunnel in South Africa. It's just over 4 kilometers long, and it was already completed in 1988. Yeah, apparently on average about 12,000 cars pass through this tunnel every day. Now today is just a normal weekday, no holidays or so I don't think it will be particularly busy. And I know during the peak holiday times, of course, things are much more hectic. Then thousands more will pass through this tunnel. And that's it. We are through the Skitterykop Mountains. Looks like Emil wants to make a stop. I'm not sure if there's something. He's just not 100%. O, op je helmet. O, tog jy sê iets op die motorfietsrattel. Dat ek net 'n bietjie van die pad afkom. Okay, maybe not be that serious. It seems like it's maybe more something on the helmet that is rattling. Oh, okay. Maar ons kan dit maklik vashou. Moet ek vir jou ek het 'n dingetjie wat kan vashou.
Raas al hoe meer.
Ja. Dit is hier in my boksie. Ek gaan gou uithaal. Emil, say hello for the camera. the first incident for the trip, but it's a minor on the helmet.
Peak is loose.
It's not quite a Leatherman. Ja. Nou, ek dog jy sê iets rattle op die bike.
Ek het so gedog.
Ja, dis net seker nooit heeltemal vasgedraai nie. Yeah, let's just make a turn off here from the N1 for a quick leg stretch at Emil. So I told Emil about the pepper steak pies at Rawsonville, and although it is just past 9 o'clock in the morning, he says it's never a bad time for a pie. So we're actually going to start this series and this trip with a pepper steak pie from Emil, but we just have to check. Hope they've got stock available. Goeiemôre. Goed, het julle pepper steaks al klaar gemaak? Yes, ons gaan elke een van hulle vat, hoor. Oh, what a wonderful stop at Emil in Rawsonville. It never disappoints. And Emil is in agreement. The pepper steak pies are fantastic. But let's continue. I've not even spoken of where we are going today. We have just taken the N1 out of Cape Town, and we are now going to find our way to Ceres, because we are going to sleep over in the Tankwa-Karoo. And this is the first time that Van's View will go to the Tankwa-Karoo, so I'm looking forward to it very much. And of course it is so special to do it with Emil. Yeah, so this is the start of the Slanghoek Valley Road. It starts here from Gydo Spa. I've never been to Gydo Spa, but apparently there are some wonderful hot water swimming pools and so on there. We have of course now entered the Brede Valley. So the Slanghoek Valley is just here on the side of the broader Brede Valley agricultural area. Yeah, so we've just passed Gydo Spa here. I think this is actually officially the starting point of the Slanghoek Valley. The board is confirming this. So let's ride into some beauty. Oh, the CFMoto 450 MT looks like a great bike. I only rode it for a few kilometers there in Cape Town, but Emil says this is fantastic. We are so grateful to Lourens there from Motorrad that set it up. We are renting the bike for the week from Motorrad there in Pardon Island in Cape Town, and they've been treating us wonderfully. I mean, the service is absolutely amazing. They set up this bike, also including the pannier bags for Emil, and it is just a perfect ride. I will still review this motorcycle a bit and just talk about my impressions of this bike. I've seen some reviews on YouTube and elsewhere which is very, very positive. So it's a 450 model CFMoto 2-cylinder and it seems like a ideal adventure bike. Of course, my CRF remains my first love, and as with all previous series, I'm doing this series with my CRF 300 Rally. But yeah, it is very nice to have a companion and also to then observe a bit how this CFMoto 450 will perform on the roads that we will take. We are starting, of course, on tar, and we will ride some, I suppose, decent dirt road today, but later in the series there will be some challenges, and we will see how both myself and Emil, and of course the motorbikes, handle those roads. Just a smaller river we are crossing here. Yeah, and the rainy season is still coming, so I'm not expecting to see lots of water and flooding today. No mud really expected, but yeah, who knows. Ceres. Yeah, I must say these mountains in front looks daunting. It looks very high, and you need to twist now through these mountains to get to Ceres. And this is where we link up on the R46 to start the very old Michell's Pass. And here we cross the actual Brede River. So this is what's defining, of course, the Brede Valley. Now we have started the Michell's Pass. What an important pass. This is one of the older passes in South Africa. So the original version of this pass was already constructed in 1838. And guess who constructed it? One of the Baines. Yes, surely it must be. Yes, and if it's that old, it must be Andrew Geddes Bain. So Andrew Geddes Bain indeed constructed this pass in 1838. And it represents one of the most important routes through the mountain connecting Cape Town to the interior. So in those days there was no De Toyskloof Pass, certainly no tunnel, and you had to take this route via Ceres to get into the interior of the country. So this Michell's Pass then twists here through the mountains, and during that time George Michell was the Surveyor General of the Cape. So that is why this pass was named after George Michell. But yeah, of course, the first version of this pass was most certainly a narrow dirt road, and it was significantly widened and tarred and so on in 1948. So today it is quite a smooth ride, not too steep inclines, but absolutely spectacularly beautiful. I always say when I ride through the Michell's Pass, the ruggedness of these mountains is so clearly visible. It is almost like there's sharp stones that is just protruding out everywhere, and the closer you get to Ceres, the more prominent this becomes. Yeah, tucked behind these trees are the old toll house. You still see the original toll house there. And of course, it's not only a pass for roads, it's also a pass for trains. So we are crossing the old train track here, but it's not in use anymore as far as I know. But yeah, we have reached the top of the Michell's Pass, and now we're only 1.5 kilometers away from Ceres, so we will drop down into the beautiful town of Ceres. So welcome to the town of Ceres, already established in 1849. Although fuel levels are not very low for both myself and Emil, we need to fill up here at Ceres because we're not going to stop for fuel again. We might not have the opportunity for fuel again until we get to Sutherland tomorrow. So we're going to do some significant riding through the Tankwa before we get to Sutherland. Now Ceres is of course named after the Roman goddess of agriculture, and I think it is a very fitting name because Ceres is indeed a very, very fertile valley, and it's one of the main, or probably the biggest, deciduous fruit production areas in the country. I think an interesting little fact about Ceres is that after the earthquake of 1969, lots of buildings got damaged. So what you tend not to see is old and dilapidated buildings, because lots of old historic buildings had to be broken down and demolished after that earthquake. But I suppose it also means that Ceres has less of, say, interesting historic buildings than one would have expected. Yeah, so we now made the quick hop to Prince Alfred's hamlet. I always find it such a pleasant town with these trees almost covering the road completely. So Prince Alfred's hamlet was established a bit after Ceres by a person called Johannes Cornelis Goosen. So he laid out this town already in 1861, and it was just also by that time, 1861, that Prince Alfred, who is the son of Queen Victoria, visited South Africa and the Cape Colony. And then Johannes Cornelis Goosen decided he's going to name this town Prince Alfred's Hamlet. Of course, Prince Alfred is a well-known name. We also encountered Prince Alfred in the previous series, riding the Big Three, where the third of those big passes was called Prince Alfred's Pass, there between Knysna and Uniondale. And of course, that pass is then also named after Prince Alfred, the son of Queen Victoria. I want to thank all of you that watched and commented on the previous series, the Riding the Big Three. What a series that was. I mean, that was an extensive trip. It took me all the way from Cape Town to Port Elizabeth, and of course I featured many of the roads that master road builder Thomas Bain has built, and I highlighted, or I picked the three best ones, and I think the most significant ones: the Swartrug Pass, the Baviaanskloof Road, and the Prince Alfred Pass. But I also rode a few others, also Meyringspoort, for example, that was built by Andrew Geddes Bain, the father of Thomas Bain, and also the Seven Passes Road that was also built by Thomas Bain. So if you want to explore a bit those passes, the big passes that Thomas Bain built, please make sure to go and have a look at the Riding the Big Three series if you have not yet seen it. We are now here at the very start of the Gydo Pass. Here you can see the board, and it immediately starts with a slight incline, but this incline will get steeper, and it will be relentless incline until we cross right there at the top over the summit of the Gydo Pass. Yeah, so the construction of the Gydo Pass was in the same time as when the Michell's Pass was constructed in 1848, and it was also constructed by Andrew Geddes Bain. And as I said, Ceres is in the Warmbokkenveld, and Gydo Pass is what now connects the Warmbokkenveld with the Kouwebokkenveld. But yeah, it takes us out of the Ceres Valley. Yeah, so the name Gydo is quite a strange word, and the name, there seems to be not quite consensus of where the name Gydo comes from. The one possibility is a reference to the San language, in which Gydo apparently means steep incline. Now, that sounds quite appropriate to me because we are busy riding quite steep inclines here. The word Gydo is also a reference to the Euphorbia plant species. Now, Euphorbia plants are apparently a species that is quite prevalent in this area. Now, I don't know much about plants, but I know that the poinsettia, the plant with the red leaves, is an example of a Euphorbia plant. But yeah, it's not sure where the name comes from, but it is quite a distinct name, Gydo. I think in the past, when I rode this pass and spoke about it, I called it the Gydo Pass, which is apparently completely wrong and maybe only showed my ignorance. But I was corrected, and the correct pronunciation of this pass is in fact Gydo. Yeah, but we are climbing quickly now. Yeah, the Gydo pass is only 7 kilometers long, so it's not a very long pass, but it does rise up from the valley floor quite a bit. Yeah. So this is certainly the steepest part where we are riding just now. Yeah. Just to get to this last little bit to the summit. Yeah, here you have some of the most beautiful views over the Ceres Valley. Nice! Yeah, so we are just taking a bit of a leg stretch here. It's quite a pleasant parking area. Yeah, the clouds have now moved away a bit to give us a bit of a view. So right to that side is Matroosberg. It's the highest mountain peak in this area, and it's usually covered in snow in winter. So Michell's Pass came through there. Yeah, so let's just take the last little bit of the Gydo Pass to get to the summit. I think we are not too far away. Hierdie padwerke is al baie lank. Ek het verwag ons gaan ergens bietjie wag. Hierdie padwerke hou nou aan tot by Op-die-Berg. Maar hopelik wag ons net een keer. Kan ons maar gaan. Dankie hoor, dankie. Okay, the wait was not too long and now we are in front. Yeah, so the building work is continuing. Today is a Wednesday, so it's a normal working day. But not sure why this whole road is now wet. Just taking it a bit more careful. Okay, all good. Yeah, we've now made it to the small little town of Op-die-Berg. Now Op-die-Berg literally means on top of the mountain, and it is named after the Skitterykop that is here on the left hand side. So it's a relatively young or new town. It was only established in 1961, and it's only because the people in this area wanted their own church, and the church there at the back was actually built in 1966. Yeah, we're just making a quick drive by. We're now going to turn here to the Skitterykop from this road. But just an interesting snippet of information, of course. Skitterykop High School was the place where Brayton also went to school, and so he is a resident from Op-die-Berg, and probably one of the best wings that South African rugby or Springbok rugby ever had. Okay, so let's now head more in the direction of the Tankwa and the Skitterykop. We are just getting a glimpse of the Skitterykop. We will come back to the Skitterykop in this series, but Emil and myself will be turning away now in about 1.5 kilometers on the Swartrug Road that will take us across that part of the Skitterykop. But the main Skitterykop actually stretches up north from here. But yeah, our tires are quite hard, so we will just make a quick stop to check the tire pressures. But yeah, how exciting! Back on dirt roads on Werner's View, and we're gonna do a lot. Let's just make a stop for the tire pressures a bit. My weld is presies tussen die vurk van hierdie voorwiel. Okay, so the pressure in the tires has been lowered. I like it to be below 1.5 bar, around 1.4. I didn't measure it now, but I know more or less how long it takes to just reach that pressure, and that should allow for a more convenient ride over the bumpy parts. Yeah, there's some really beautiful views onto the Skitterykop or the Skitterykop. Ja. Hoe voel die grondpad right sover? Yeah, so this is the Swartrug Road and this is the Swartrug Conservancy, so this is a protected area. I don't know much more about the Swartrug Conservancy, but the fact that this area is protected is of course fantastic because it is so beautiful. Oh, no, this CFMoto, this is made for these roads. It looks like such a solid bike. Yeah, so one can see the Katbakkies Pass. It is the steep sections are tarred, and yeah, it's an average gradient of 1 to 13, which is quite steep. But I think what makes Katbakkies interesting is that there are even sections where it is a gradient of 1 to 4. Now that to me that is very steep. So it was tarred, that part, in 1999, I suppose just to make it a bit easier to ride. Yeah, so we have now made a bit of a stop here on the slopes of the Katbakkies Pass. We are still on quite a steep part, but yeah, we have to make a stop because if you ride up, you cannot really appreciate the views back. So let's just have a bit of a look on what it looks back onto the Rawsonville here from the top of Katbakkies Pass. We brought the CRF and the CFMoto up. I mean, you never get the sense of how steep a road is on camera, but this is quite a stiff incline. But you should be able to see the road, the dirt road there coming in from the Rawsonville area where we came in from. So you'll see the sand dunes there below, and maybe the little bridge. We now made it all the way up, but just look how beautiful this expanse is. We will get on the bikes and head off to Skitterykop Pass. Okay, so that was just a quick stop here next to Katbakkies Pass. What a pass. Yo, it is so steep and the views back are simply beautiful, beautiful. So the name Katbakkies, there are two explanations. The one is that there is apparently a part of this mountain where the face of the mountain looks like, or the mountain looks like the face of a cat, and Katbakkies in Afrikaans means face of a cat. But then there's another explanation of the name, which is, yeah, this pass is so steep that the only way that you can ride it with a car or drive it with a car is if you put it in the strongest gear, which is reverse, and you go up with the backside of the car first. And the boot of a car in Afrikaans is also known as the Katbak, and so you need to get the Katbak side to go up the pass. I must say I like the second explanation better, but nevertheless, this is Katbakkies Pass, a real treat to ride. But now we've made it quite high up, Katbakkies Pass. The summit is, now we are at 1,200 meters, so it's well above the snow line in winter, and you can expect to see snow when winter comes. So now we're going to cross this plateau and descend again down to the Tankwa-Karoo. Luckily the roads are quite dry at the moment. The rainy season will still come, so this must be flood damage due to the previous season. Yeah, so Skitterykop is starting to appear there in the distance. So this is quite a significant, I think, landmark for this area. But of course also the Tankwa Plains beyond that is now becoming visible for the first time. Yeah, so with this little road, one tends now to have a beautiful view on Skitterykop. Yeah, there are these stone ruins here, and I think this is an ideal spot to just make a bit of a stop, a bit of a leg stretch and so forth.